Assalamualaikum and good day. My name is Intan Fatiha and today my group and I will present about the comparison requirement of management system between three different ISO standards which are ISO 14001, ISO 9001 and ISO 45001. The world popular ISO standard that cover three important areas in our globalized which are quality management for ISO 9001 and environmental management for ISO 14001. ISO 45001 is a recent release on occupational safety and health management system. ISO 9001, ISO 14001 and ISO 45001 are ISO management system standard MSS. Typically, all three standards follow the same high-level structure, so it will be very easy for organization looking to integrate these three standards or any two of them. First of all, we go to the clause 4, which is the context of the organization. The requirements are linked to issue that affects organization, and this can be internal or external. For clause 4.1, the organization shall determine external and internal issues that are relevant to its purpose that affects its ability to achieve the intended outcome. ISO 14001 for EMS, ISO 9001 for Quality Management System, while ISO 45001 for OH&S Management System. For clause 4.2, three of these organizations should understand the needs and expectations of interested parties that are relevant to their area. Special case for the ISO 45001 when they also need to monitor and include workers that are relevant to that area. The main difference between these three standards is what the framework such as in clause 4.3. ISO 9001 address the approach to quality which will involve measuring quality in key areas such as management responsibility, customer satisfaction, and resources management. However, ISO 14001 focuses on how the organization can manage its environment in a continuous improvement manner. Organizations need to implement and improve the environmental conservation process and monitor it continuously in an effort to achieve the intended outcome of performance. ISO 45001 as well as to provide a framework for managing OH&S risk and opportunity. The aim of this management system is to prevent worker-related injuries and to provide a safe and healthy workplace. It is very important for organizations to eliminate hazard and minimize OH&S risk by taking effective preventive and protective measures. As stated in clause 4.4, all of the organizations shall establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve all the management system in order to achieve the intended outcome. All of them including the process needed and their interaction in accordance with the requirement of the international standard.
Hi, my name is Alia. I will continue clauses 5. In clauses 5.1, leadership and commitment, there are similarities and differences between ISO 14001, ISO 9001, and ISO 45001. There are similarities on ISO 40001 and ISO 45001, which is the top management must show initiative and dedication to the OH&S management system by having total responsibility and accountability for the provision of safe and healthy workplace and activities, as well as the avoidance of work-related injury and illness. The difference is found in ISO 9001 that have two more sub-clauses, general and customer focus. In clauses 5.2, policy, the similarity is that it provides a plan for establishing the goals in ISO 14001 and ISO 45001. In ISO 9001, there are two subclauses, establishing the quality policy and communicating the quality policy. There are differences between ISO 14001 and ISO 45001 that have no subclauses. In clauses 5.3, organizational rules, responsibilities and authorities, ISO 14001, ISO 9001 and ISO 45001 all have the same content. Administration first at top will delegate responsibility and power for verifying that the management system complies with this document standard. Furthermore, there is one significant difference. ISO 45001 has another subclause 5.4 that requires worker consultation and participation. In those subclasses, the organization shall give fast access to key information regarding the OH&S management system that is clear, intelligible, and timely.
Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. My name is Siti Nur Fatimah and now I will continue to explain about classes. In classes 1.1 in ISO 14001, organization determines potential emergency situation including those that can have environmental impact. Meanwhile, for ISO 90001, the organization meets regulatory requirements to provide customer certification and quality product and service. And for ISO 45001, the organization determines the risk and opportunity for the OH&S management system and its intended outcome. All the ISO have same purpose which risk and opportunity addressed to achieve its intended outcome, prevent or reduce undesired effects and achieve improvement. In the classes for 1.2, ISO 40001 explains about environmental aspect. It includes of activities, product and service that can control and those that can influence environmental aspect consider life cycle perspective. Organizations shall consider change and abnormal conditions. Next, in ISO 90001, it explains about action to address risks and opportunities. Organizations shall plan how to integrate and implement QMS process. For ISO 45001, it involves about hazard identification, risk and opportunity of OH&S. For hazard identification, the organization shall identify how work is organized, leadership, social factors, and the culture in the organization. Meanwhile, for OH&S risk, the organization shall assess OH&S risk from hazard and considering effectiveness disease control and determine other risks. Other than that, for OH&S opportunities, the organization shall implement opportunities to enhance its performance while considering planned change to the organization like opportunities to adapt work and opportunities to eliminate hazard. Next, for compliance obligation in ISO 40001, the organization shall have access to the compliance obligation, determine how it applies to the organization and continually improving. Besides, for determination of legal requirement in ISO 45001, the organization shall have access to up-to-date legal requirement, determine how compliance obligation applies to the organization and continually improving. In classes 6.1.4 Planning Action for ISO 40001, the organization shall plan to take action to address its environmental aspect, compliance obligation, and risks and opportunities. Meanwhile, for ISO 45001, the organization shall plan to take action to address its risks and opportunities, legal requirement, and prepare a response to emergency situations. For both ISO, the organization shall plan how to integrate and implement the action and evaluate the effectiveness of the action. All the ISO have the same objective, which the objective shall be consistent, measurable, monitored, communicated, and updated by ISO 90001 and ISO 45001. It has additional objective that the objective shall be applicable requirement and relevant to conformity of product for ISO 90001. And for ISO 45001, the objective consists of the applicable requirement, result of the assessment risks and opportunities, and result of consultation with workers. In the class, each type of ISO has the same planning to achieve its objective. The organization shall determine what will be done, what resource, who responsible, when it will be completed, and how to evaluate. But for ISO 45001, it has additional in the planning which the organization shall determine how the action to achieve the objective will be integrated into the organization process. Next, in classes 6.3, only ISO 90001 has it. The organization shall consider the purpose of the change, the integrity of the QMS, the availability of resource, and the allocation or reallocation of responsibility and authorities.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I am Nur Anaswa binti Muhammad Asinon. So, I will continue the presentation about clause 7, which is support. For 7.1 is about resource. The similarity has been found between these three types of ISO, which are ISO 40001, ISO 9001 and ISO 45001. In general, this type of organization shall determine and provide the resource needed for the establishment, implementations, maintenance, and continual improvement for each type of management system, including in MS, which is Environmental Management System, Quality Management, and also Occupational Health and Safety Management System. It has been found that there are differences in ISO 9001 compared to the other two types of ISO. The organizations of ISO 9001 also consider there are a few types of resource including people, infrastructure, and environmental for the operation of process and monitoring and measuring resource. Monitoring and measuring resource is the one of the sources that needs to be considered by ISO 9001 in terms of general, measurement traceability, and organization knowledge. The three ISO have two similarities in competence. The first one is the organization must determine that required competence of any persons performing work under its control by referring to appropriate education, training, and experience. The organizations also take actions and evaluate the effectiveness of the action taken. For Clause 7.3, which is awareness, there are a lot of similarities that has been found in these three types of ISO, which is the organization shall ensure all the workers to be aware of environmental, quality, and occupational health and safety policy and their objective. And the workers also should be aware to their contribution to the effectiveness of the management system. Instead of that, the workers also should be aware of the implications of not conforming with the management system requirement. What makes ISO 45001 different to the other two types of ISO is the organizations of ISO 45001 should be aware on how to reduce, eliminate, or remove the hazards to protect all the workers from danger. Clause 7.4 is about communication. There are similarities that has been found between ISO 14001 and ISO 45001, which is the organization shall establish, implement, and maintain the process needed for internal and external communication relevant to the environmental management system. Why, for ISO 9001, there is a difference between the other two types of ISO. The organization shall determine the internal and external communications relevant to the quality management system. For Clause 7.5 is about documented information. The similarity have been found in these three types of ISO, where in general the organizations of the management system shall include documented information determined by the organizations as being necessary for the effectiveness of each management system. Other similarities that have been found is in creating and updating. The organization shall ensure appropriate identifications and description, format, review, and approval for suitability and adequacy. For control of documented information shall be controlled by organization to ensure it is suitable for use, where and when it is needed. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next, we go to the Clause 8. For the Clause 8's operation, they shall set out how organization must determine the process required for their operation. The organization shall plan, implement, control, and maintain the process needed to meet requirements for all of the management system and to implement the action as determined in Clause 6. For ISO 14001 and ISO 45001, they determine it by establishing criteria for the process and implementing control of the process in accordance with the criteria. While for ISO 9001, it establishing criteria for the process and the acceptance of products and service. Next, ISO 14001 and ISO 45001 have the similarity in Clause 8.2 when the organization shall establish, implement, and maintain the process needed to prepare and respond to potential emergency situations as identified in Clause 6.1.1 and 6.1.2. Clause 8.2 in ISO 9001 is divided into 4 categories, which are customer communication, determining, review, and changes in the requirement for products and service. The organization should ensure that relevant documented information is amended and the relevant persons are made aware of the changes requirement when the requirement for product and service are changed. ISO 14001 and ISO 45001 do not have Clause 8.3 until 8.7. Clause 8.3 in ISO 9001 is focused on design and development of products and service. They shall consider the planning, input, control, output, and the changes when development of products and service. Clause 8.4 is focused on the organization to determine and apply criteria for the evaluation, selection, monitoring of performance, and re-evaluation of external providers based on their ability to provide process, product, and service in accordance with requirement. They need to make sure that it does not adversely affect the organization's ability to consistently deliver conforming product and service to its customers. Next, we go to the Clause 8.5, which is about the production and service provision. In short, the organization must implement the provision of production and service under controlled conditions, such as the use of infrastructure and the environment must be suitable for the operation of the process. In addition, the organization shall identify outputs when ensuring conformity of products and service. They also need to be careful with property belonging to customers or external suppliers while it is under the control of the organization or used by the organization. If customer or external supplier property is lost, damaged, or unfit for use, the organization shall report this to the customer or external supplier and keep documented information about the matter. Then, the organization must maintain the output during production and service provision regardless of handling or packaging to ensure conformity to requirements. The organization must meet the requirement for activities after the delivery of products and service, such as statutory and regulatory requirements, the nature, life expectancy of product and service, and also customer requirements and feedback. Also, the organization shall review and control changes for production or provision of service. All the information must be maintained to be documented as it is describing the result of the change review, the person who authorized the change, and any necessary action arising from the review. In addition, Clause 8.6 is related to the release of products and service. Organization must implement plan arrangements so that product and service requirement can be met. The release of products and service must be approved by the authorities and according to the customer's satisfaction. Then, the information on the release of product and service, such as evidence of conformity with acceptance criteria and traceability to the person who granted the approval, must be kept documented by the organization. Lastly, for the Clause 8.7, it is about the control and non-conforming outputs, where the organization must ensure that output that does not conform to its requirement is controlled to prevent unwanted use. Appropriate action should be taken on product and service that do not meet standards either during or after the provision of service. All the non-conforming release in terms of correction, containment, return, or supersession of product provision should be addressed properly. In addition, they also need to verify and obtain permission to confirm it when the non-conforming outputs are corrected. Need to remember that the organization shall keep documented information describing non-conforming, action taken, concession obtained, and identifying the authority that decided on the action.
Hi, my name is Husna. I will present for Clause 9, which is Performance Evaluation. For ISO 14001, ISO 90001, and ISO 45001, in 9.11, we can see that there are similarity in their content, which are the organization should determine what needs to be monitored and measured, and the method for monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation as applicable to ensure valid results. In classes 9.1.2, ISO 40001 and ISO 45001, it is evaluation of compliance. The content are same where the organization shall determine the frequency that compliance will be evaluated and evaluate compliance and take action if need. But it's different for ISO 90001 where 9.1.2 are customer satisfaction, which the organization shall monitor customers' perception of the degree to which their needs and expectations have been fulfilled. Other than that, there are differences in 9.1.3 analysis and evaluation, where there is only ISO 90001 have these subclasses, while ISO 40001 and ISO 45001 have no these subclasses in their standard. These subclasses is about the result of analysis shall be used to evaluate conformity of products and services. Classes 9.2 Internal Audit. For subclasses 9.2.1 General, in these subclasses ISO 40001, ISO 90001 and ISO 45001 all have the same content where the organization shall conduct internal audits at planned intervals to provide information in each their standard system. Furthermore, in subclasses 9.2.2 Internal Audit Program, the content are same for all three standards where the organization shall establish, implement and maintain audit program. But there is one significant difference between ISO 90001 and ISO 45001. For ISO 90001, the organization shall take appropriate correction and corrective action without undue delay. Meanwhile, for ISO 45001, the organization shall take action to address non-conformities and continually improve its OH&S performance. In classes 9.3, there is differences between ISO 90001 with ISO 40001 and ISO 45001, where ISO 90001 are divided into three subclasses, which are subclass 9.3.1 about general, 9.3.2 about management review input, and 9.3.3 about management review output. But the content in these three standards are most likely same. The management review input for these three standards are same, which is the management review shall include consideration of the status of actions from previous management reviews and changes in external and internal issues that are relevant to each their standard system. Other than that, for the output of these three standards, the content also same where it all highlighted about opportunities to improve integration of its standard system.
In classes 10.1, all of those ISO talking about same general, which is the organization shall identify and choose development needs. Second, take any appropriate steps. According to classes 10.2, non-conformity and corrective action for ISO 14001 and ISO 9001. They have similarities where the organization shall respond to the non-conformity, take appropriate measures to manage and fix it. Next, face the penalties. Then, implement any necessary actions. As we can see in classes 10.2, incident, non-conformity, and corrective action of ISO 45001. There are differences when the organization shall review current evaluations of OH&S hazard and additional concerns as necessary. In classes 10.3, continual improvement, there are totally difference between all the ISO. In ISO 14001, to improve environmental performance, the company must constantly increase the environmental management system's applicability, completeness, and effectiveness. In contrast with ISO 9001, in order to decide if there are needs or opportunities that should be addressed as part of continuous improvement, the organization must take into account the findings of analysis and evaluation as well as the outputs from management review. But for ISO 45001, the company must actively foster a culture that supports an OH&S management system if it wants to keep getting better.